Under Kazue, the 2001-2002 board and committee chairs, in particular Bob O'Brien, principal librarian of the Atlanta Symphony and two-time MOLA president, and Bob Sutherland, created a 5-year plan, later known as Full Score. Now, shortly after those 5 years have passed, Kazue writes, "Looking back, we have accomplished many of the goals set, while others have changed. That was the original intention, to evolve and adapt as the organization continued to grow. I like to think that the first mid-year board meeting in Atlanta 6 years ago helped to propel us toward the next 10-year growth and an even greater service organization on an international level." Ask Karen Schnackenberg what she thinks of this, and she'll remind you of the conference last spring, hosted by the Zurich Tonhalle Orchestra and organized by librarian Jörg Obrecht, a milestone event for MOLA. Or she'll tell you about the 2003 Iraqi National Symphony Orchestra music campaign. With Karen in full organizer mode and Marcia Farabee overseeing the North American receiving station, MOLA collected over 500 complete sets of symphony orchestra, opera, and ballet parts, as well as chamber music scores, recordings, and office supplies to donate to the INSO. The project was an international effort, with music shipped to Iraq from countries in North America, Europe, and Australia. Catch Karen on a good email day, and she'll describe the virtual classroom in production for the mola-inc.org, the website's archived conference minutes and periodicals, the MOLA Forum and its search features, the upcoming bylaw amendments, and the brochure translations in 3 languages. She'll go on to mention the annual meeting in New York with committee members and publishing reps, and remind you of the orchestral library columns on polyphonic.org. And if that isn't enough, she'll sign off by saying that she'll probably think of even more later on. So then, what's next? So much is happening with MOLA now that nobody really seems to know what's in store for the future. Larry Tarlow claims to be more of a reactionary than a visionary. Bob Sutherland says simply that he hopes newer librarians will contribute to MOLA like their predecessors. Clint Newig pretends to be retired. Kazue MacGregor has an idea that more technology is in MOLA's morrow. Vice President Marcia Farabee believes that MOLA must focus on education. MOLA started out as a small gathering of librarians who shared not only an esoteric job description, but a desire to work together and to get to know one another. Marcia Farabee recalls the 1992 conference in Pittsburgh when host Joan Vosberg, principal librarian of the Pittsburgh Symphony, had been walloped with a world premiere. After the first rehearsal, she says, it became apparent that they were going to have to redo it. So, during the business meeting, we passed out the parts, and the librarians bowed it during the conference. Kazue's introduction to MOLA was the 1989 conference, saying the group was small enough that the San Francisco ballet librarians prepared a gourmet lunch for us. The first time I learned that some flowers were for eating. And a footnote, an anonymous 89 attendee reports, actually, Kazue, the flowers were there for decoration, but none of us wanted to hurt your feelings. But she continues, I felt so welcomed into a group of similar-minded colleagues, and that has not changed. What has changed is the size, the structure, and the composition. 22 orchestra librarians at the first meeting is less than 6% of the current roster, which numbers 395 librarians, 235 performing organizations. An informally appointed president, vice president, secretary-treasurer has morphed into 6 board positions, an administrator, a parliamentarian, no, really, and at last count, 14 committees, plus multiple resource centers. The gender distribution has leveled. 2 of the original 22 were women, and in 1984, still only 3 out of 27. The members hail from 25 countries over a span of 6 continents. What we do know is that for future growth, or even just to maintain, MOLA needs the same level of commitment and volunteerism from its current members as from the ones who started it back when some of us weren't even born. A next generation of librarians has begun to serve, infusing the organization with new ideas and showing that the example set by their mentors has taken hold. Karen Schnackenberg puts it like this: I think MOLA is going to have to remain clear about what kind of service it wants to provide to its members, the publishers, and the industry. It has to remain committed to education, and it has to find ways to be relevant to the wide range of organizations who are members, from here in the U.S. to Japan to Australia to Spain and back again. We won't ever again experience the exponential level of growth that we did in the last decade. Now our focus has to be on what we are and what we offer. Bob Sutherland says, it's the people who make the organization, and that's a tribute to those who have helped and those who have made the commitment to spend countless, untold, and often unthanked hours to do for the greater good. MOLA is one of the very few places where one could actually put one's efforts toward a specific endeavor, and it's actually made a difference in an actual industry. And where else in life could anyone have such an impact? This has been excerpted and adapted with permission from an article written by Jennifer Johnson of the Minnesota Orchestra to be published in the June 2007 issue of MOLA's quarterly newsletter, Marcato.